9. Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. Liftoff. 32 minutes past the hour. Liftoff on Apollo 11. Roger, Tower.
Welcome to the Alien Pro Podcast. It is Tuesday, April 1st, 2026. This is not April Fool's joke. I have Kay Golden here, author Into the Gray's Abyss. Hi, Kay. How you doing? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Well, let's see. Live out in Colorado. Have been married for over 40 years to a great guy. Yeah, we met in high school, so we're high school sweethearts. Kind of, I think our relationship was sort of ordained in the stars. That's how I like to think of it.
Nice.
We actually met in front of a planetarium in high school.
Oh, no way. Is he I must ask now, is he a believer of all the, has he experienced anything?
It was rough when everything started in September 2017. The Diamond Bar incident, if you will.
Oh, wow.
And he didn't want to believe me then, of course. It's one of those things. But he's done a lot. He's come around, and he knows that I've written the books and I'm on the podcast, and now I'm the director of a brand new organization that's going to be doing a deep dive into new abduction cases and using a specialized database to compile and sort the data so we can get to the bottom of it. And this is an unprecedented organization. This is not MUFON or any of those other ones. We're not talking about the crafts in the sky. We are talking about actual abductees who have been taken, like me and many others out there.
These
Skywatchers National.
Skywatchers National. Now, 200,000 people go missing every year.
Oh my God, I know.
But most of them are for their kids and whatever, and they're found. But 1% of that,
where'd they go?
They're never found. Abductee? Are you thinking these abductees? Some don't make it back for whatever reason.
I think some of them don't make it back. I think, and I also believe that some of the abductions are from beings that are bad, in my case, bad, but in other people's cases, some are good, and then you've got the My Lab, where it's the military laboratory, somehow, for some reason, grabbing people, taking them and experimenting with them.
So this is like Archuleta, you've heard of Archuleta Mesa?
Oh, Dulce Base. I'm doing a deep dive. That's my next book coming out in July. Yeah. It'll be a big deep dive into that.
The story is that's really ugly on level 6. That's where the humans don't go.
Yeah. Well, and now there's also evidence that there's a level 8 as well.
Oh, wow. What happens? So, I don't know. Want to know there's the story is they are integrating humans and animals and all kinds of weird experimentation.
Parts and pieces. Yeah. It's very interesting, and I know that there's a lot of people out there who say, oh, that's poppycock, or that's all conspiracy. But there's been a lot of people who have claimed they've been there, have been taken there. I'm one of them.
Were you taken to the lab, a military lab?
I am not sure, but being that the Diamond Bar encounter was the first shocking abduction where I was yanked out of bed and taken into a craft and had been in 3 different rooms and 3 different things, experimented. And this is when I met this, in my book, tall gray, progenitor gray being. And then, of course, it's the short, half biological zeta grays that take you. They're the ones that do the dirty work, that take you.
That's the story, that they're the henchmen.
And the henchmen, there you go. And they're not very tall, and they have those black wraparound eyes. And I tell you what, I knocked one over during one.
Really?
One encounter. It's in volume 2. It's called Into the Purple Vortex. That was in our master bedroom in 2022, I think, in August, July or August.
Were you taking with your husband there?
No, he was sleeping in the bed, and I felt this vibration, kind of. It's a wave that just starts in the head and blows down through the body.
Right.
And the bed kind of shakes. There's a rumbling underneath the bed. And then I was sitting up, and then there's a big, huge purple, blue, swirling mass of vapors or cloud or whatever, where our master bedroom windows should be. This is in volume 2. And there's a gray standing right there, a little short one, with its body or foot half in and 1 foot out on my carpet or on our carpet. He is sound asleep, zonked.
Oh,
And
no.
yeah, so it pulls me, grabs me, pulls me in. It was like instantaneous, like less than a second through that vortex and into this great big white room, another white room, with a contraption that I can't even describe. I drew it, and it's in the book. It's illustrated, but it's a big, tall-looking rectangle with a big circular thing on it with 4 tables on it, or beds that go around. Each bed goes around individually also. And I got put on this, and there's it's a big room, and there was a control just like off to the kitty corner, maybe 20 feet away, and some cloaked green thing, well, it was a green cloak, was there. It had a little hunchback. It looked like it from, and looking through my toes, I was looking at this.
Right.
At some kind of console, controls something, and I couldn't exactly see it. It looked like it could be like transparent, but it was a white room, white ceiling. The ceiling was really high. The machine was really tall, and little Zeta Gray put me on the first table, low to the floor, and just laying on it. And again, there's no clothing on you. You're not clothed. And whole thing starts going around, and there were 2 other beings. So 2 tables had looked like a lady with long brown hair on it, maybe less, not as tall as me, so maybe like 5'3" or so.
Right.
And then an older man was on one of the tables, and he was
no.
moaning and really not looking good, or sounding good. So we go around, and then the tables start turning. And I told Linda Moulton Howe, I said, it felt like I was being barbecued on a spit. No joke.
Oh,
The heat was just making me nauseous and everything. But and then they stopped it, and whatever they were doing, they hooked up. I had to stop, and little Zeta Gray came and hooked up 4 wires to the back of my head. 2 were white, and 2 seemed like they were just copper. And I have the little indentations back here, right back here.
Yeah.
And then we went around again. And when that part was done, then the table stopped, and some little machine came over and came out of the table, swung over, and shot me or inoculated me, weird, with a kind of a cutting device more than anything. And so my arm was in pain, and that's my right arm. That was my good arm. And when I was finally released off the table, the Zeta Gray was taking me back to the portal, which is right there. And when I was on the bed, and every time the bed turned, I was able to look left. The vortex was still open, and I could see all the way through it to our master bedroom. No joke. I know it sounds incredible, but that's what happened.
You think it's interdimensional? Is this a feeling you've got?
I got the feeling it was either just a portal into another way to transport somebody into a great big room somewhere, possibly on Earth. I don't think I was in a craft this time. I think it was a building. Maybe it was underground. There were no windows, none at all. So that's kind of my theory somewhere. But then again, it could have been another realm completely. I mean, we don't know enough.
What do you think well, I know we don't know, but what do you feel like the purpose is of these examinations, if you will?
Every time there's an examination, it furthers me into this. It's like, okay, first you took me, you did this to me, you did that to me, you did this to me, and Mantis being shot into the room. One of them stabbed me in the back, one of them got me in the arm, one of them poked me under the eye with the device, and a machine was going across my belly on the first table, and I was clamped down. On the second table, I wasn't clamped down. And so it just seems like there's like these little steps that they've taken, and then the big final thing that I saw was again in another, I think, building, big white room, conference table, and this is why I said Dulce base. Hybrid beings, hybrid human greys, probably like 5th generation hybrid greys, figuring this has been going on since at least the 1960s, maybe even a little earlier. But they had, no real hair. They had brown eyes. They didn't have big eyes. They had, like kind of like walnut shape, almost human eyes,
Right.
but they were colored. And then their skin was really pale, but they had a little bluish tinge to them. Now, the little short Zeta gray beings that I talk about in my book are gray with a blue tone, gray-blue. And then the tall gray that I talk about, the progenitor gray, he's paler, but he has a blue undertone to his skin. But he also has pink mottling, a little area on the back right of his big, huge, bulbous head. And he doesn't have the rough brown eyes.
How many times have you been taken?
Oh, good Lord, you would ask that. I think I told Gary Anderson the other night, I just said, I think it's 20. It might be more than 20 now. I'm not sure. But it's been a lifelong thing. And I didn't realize that until I started researching and investigating and talking to my own family about strange things that happened when I was a kid, and remembering just a few things. But getting back to the Dulce base thing, the conference room was white, the table was white. You had these 2 beings. I was following one of them. They were about 5'6", maybe, not as tall as me, but not small like the little Zeta Grays. I don't think any hair, dressed in white jumpsuits. They had a strange belt around them. And I'm looking from the back, from the one that's in front of me. And we were going through, no kidding, 15-foot high corridors. Not real wide, but just really tall walls. So wow. It had to have been a building, I think. And we go into this conference room, and there is a window there, but I'm not allowed to go over and look. I'm told in my head by the tall gray progenitor who's been in my life for a long time. Through my head, he says, "No." As I approach the conference table with the 2 hybrids, "No, you're not going there. You need to go this way." So I had to go over to the far side of the room, and then this clear container, transparent thing came over me. There was a chair. I got to sit, but I had to be like that to hear what was going on at the table. And I could see it and I could hear it from a distance. It was no problem, but they weren't letting me go to the table for whatever reason. But anyway, there were the 2 hybrids. There was a little device at the end of the table, a little black, it almost looked like a calculator, really. And there was a human man there. And this happened, was Halloween night of 2024. So we were still in our other house in Castle Rock, Colorado.
What did the human guy look like?
So the human guy had, brown hair. He was in a bathrobe. Honestly, I don't know why it was a bathrobe, but he was in a bathrobe. He was sweating. Did it have a hood? He was perspiring. He looked really nervous. And
did the robe have a hood? Do you remember?
No, there was no hood. It just looked like a plain bathrobe, like a red bathrobe. Isn't that so strange? But he was very nervous, and you could tell because the one hybrid brought him in, and then they sat down, and all I could see was that they were pointing at this little device, and I got the impression that they were angry with him because something was wrong with this figure. And all I heard from him was, in my defense, that looks like a 7. Your writing or your glyphs look like a 7. So this was, as I gathered, this was some important trade deal because the hybrid that was across or next to him was looking at it going, "No, that's not your 7. That's our figure for some other number." And he says, she says, "You have to get this right. This is important. This is between species." So I gathered that was a trade deal. And I tell you what, Doug, man, after this, the next morning, which was the day after Halloween, I called Linda Moulton right away in the morning, and I spoke to her about this. I said, "You're not going to believe this. I was taken again. This is what happened. Oh my God." And I told her about the room. I told her about the beings and that little negotiation. And she goes, "I've never heard of that before." And I said, "Well, if you've got extra-dimensional and interdimensional and ultra-dimensional, well, maybe not ultra-dimensional, but all these different species and supposedly a galactic federation out there from the 19 whatever, then it would stand to reason that there's got to be some way that these beings, the good ones anyway, are working together or doing trade. That just kind of makes sense to me, bartering, whatever you want to call it. So it wasn't totally out in left field, but it was definitely the first time Linda heard it. And I was flabbergasted. I was just literally open mouth, wow. But so they had that little meeting, and I was told in my head, okay, good, you can go now. And the contraption thing lifts up, and I'm escorted back out, and then back to, pop through the portal and back onto the bed. It is the strangest thing. All white room, conference table, chairs, big tall window, had to have been a building.
Is this the same? Do you go to the same room every time, or is it somewhere different?
No, usually I'm on the tall grays saucer craft, or I get put on the mother. The last time I was on the big ship was to see the nursery and hold one of those little
hybrid babies.
Yeah, and I didn't want to. I was instantly repulsed by the whole idea. I didn't want to be in the room. I didn't want to look. I didn't want to touch it or see it, but I was told I had to. And then they let me go.
Do you have kids?
I do. Yeah. We have 3.
What do they think? Have you told them about this?
Well, the 2 daughters we don't have a real relationship with anymore. But our son, he knows, and his wife knows, and she sees my postings on Facebook and everything. And one of our grandchildren does know out of 7 of them. She's got my books.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
She wanted my books. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I always ask if the spouses or the kids know. I've got 3 boys. Yeah. I've got one that, out of 3, 2 of them they believe something's out there. They haven't experienced anything, but they believe in the cause. I call it the cause because we're trying to get down to what's going on with you and the phenomenon. Yeah. And I've got my other son who's kind of into religion, and he doesn't believe any of it. And he doesn't say I'm a crackpot or anything, but he's just like, he calls me a nerd. He goes, "You're just a nerd."
No, I haven't been called anything bad, and I have neighbors who know I'm an author, and they know what I'm writing about. And my books are in a local store, and we're out in the country, pretty much in Colorado, and about an hour away from Colorado Springs. And I'm even the people that are going to be doing my eye and my cataract removal surgery.
Yeah. They know.
They know about me, and one of them has a husband in intelligence who works at Schriever Air Force Base. And she said he bought my book, and because he had to go, she says he just has to go. He can't tell me where or when or anything. And I said, I understand that. Yeah. When you're a military wife for 20 years with an Air Force guy, you totally understand this stuff, but you really understand it when you dive into the whole UFO subject.
Yeah, he
can't tell her, so he bought my book and took it with him on TDY.
Yeah.
And I said, great, now the whole intelligence agents are all...
Yeah, there's lights flashing in every office. No, there's so much and so many people involved and so many things. It's just weird. I'm sure are your neighbors far? I mean, you don't live like right next door, like...
No, we have property with horses, so they're across the way behind us and further back behind us.
They don't get nervous.
We all have about 5 to 8 acres.
Is it right across the way? Somebody's getting taken out of their bed and into a spaceship.
Nobody's going to see it.
Yeah, they might be next.
Out here, all kinds of weird stuff happens. And I'm not saying I can just go outside and point and say, that's UFO. That's not what I do. But I do get a little warning, which is just a quick 3-4 second high pitch frequency in my right ear. It's always the right ear. And then I go, okay, I grab my iPhone and I go out in the back and look up, and usually there's something out there. And I take videos. I post them on Facebook, or I take photos. I have some very interesting photos on my wall, and they will be in the next book. I can't do much about the videos. But
right.
It's been I'm calm about it today. See, when I was on Gary Anderson's show, I wasn't very calm about this, because it's still, even though the Diamond Bar incident happened in 2017, and that was the real earth-shattering thing that happened. I mean, I was sobbing after that. I was outside. I opened the windows to our California home at the time and went out there and breathed in my horse's equine senior feed. I just moved there. And we were there for my husband's aerospace job for about 18 months. He had to start the job that morning. And I remember having coffee and sitting there shaking and crying and telling him I didn't want him to go. I mean, I knew he had to start the job,
right? But
I didn't want him to go. And when I told him what happened, and this happens probably with everybody, unless you know that you have 100% supportive husband, spouse, friend, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, you don't tell them because you don't want to get ridiculed. And the last thing you want to hear is it was an intense dream. And that's kind of what I heard. So he went from that to now he's understanding and believing and asking me questions more about what's going on. And he asked me, actually just not too long ago, why I hadn't told him about any of the times when we were dating. And I said, didn't you find it weird that I was walking outside all the time by myself? Just leaving my mom and dad's house. I'd leave at like midnight and go walking through San Jose, California.
Oh, wow.
Or not through the whole city, but in a pretty good area by myself. I had no reason to do it. I had nobody to go see. And I continued that through most of our early marriage into where I think where the kids were born.
Is that where you're from, San Jose?
No, I'm from Northern Illinois.
Oh, wow.
And I had an incident when I was about 2 or 3 years old in the bedroom in the farmhouse there, where I was laying on a bed, and for the longest time, I just remember the eyes and the hand, and for the longest time I thought it didn't mean anything to me until all of this stuff, started happening. And when everything transpired from Diamond Bar to Colorado, I was being tracked or taken again and again and again at the other house in Castle Rock. So, I mean, when all that happened, I was talking to family and trying to figure out, hey, I had a sister who told me, my sister Marie told me that I used to, apparently it was me, who would get lost and be found in the Huntley Town Square in Northern Illinois.
When's the last time you got abducted?
Let's see, that would have been here a couple of months ago now, and that was really weird. That was the tall gray, and it was standing up, not on one of the beds, but standing up in a pie wedge shaped room on his craft, and he had a clear. It wasn't there, and then there was a transparent screen, and he was doing something with his longer finger, which is out of the 4 fingers, the middle one is like the longest one. So he was doing something with that. When he was doing it, I was standing there with my mouth open, drooling, and I was only wanting to ask one question. I think it was about the drones over the East Coast. I wanted to know what they were, if they were theirs or whose they were. And
look at you trying to gather. You're trying to gather intelligence.
I was trying. I mean, but you can't ask these beings questions and get real answers. It doesn't happen. And it's very hard to do it through thought transference, especially when you're drooling and your mouth is feeling like you can't really move it and everything's garbled. It comes out that way, and you're in the thought that you're trying to push into the being, like, blah blah blah. But all I got was that he inferred, or through thought transference while he's doing this, and I got a big flash in my head. So something was going on with the implant that's, I think, in there. And,
so you have an implant?
I believe so.
Do you know?
I do. I had an MRI. Now, they didn't discover, but they weren't looking for anything like that with an MRI. They were looking for why I had a neurological issue and why I kicked a nurse.
It's not just, oh no. Why but it's not like in your arm or leg or... I just had an interview a couple of days ago about a guy he has his visitations, like he'll be laying in bed and they literally come through the wall and just and then all of a sudden they're just there.
Yes.
And I said, when's the last time this happened? Oh, this happens he goes, yeah, just like a couple of weeks ago it just happened. He goes, it happens all the time. I go, how do you process that and still keep sanity?
Yeah.
That's the big question. I mean, I would be like, okay, stop the madness. Well, there's a lot of people out there.
Yeah.
I mean, are they trying to inject you with something and then bring you back and then see what it did, how it reacted with you physiologically or something like that? That's the only thing I can think of is, why they keep abducting the same people all the time. Yeah. It isn't for fun. There's a reason. It's for a reason.
Yeah, they have, and you've got different beings. Some people see shadow beings. Some people see a gray or a different looking gray. There's 4 different species that we know of grays. And reptilians, there's 2 or 3 different species of these. I've had one of those, not a good visit, rip through my guest bedroom window back in Castle Rock and grab me out of the bed, no joke, and I got scratches across my belly from the claws of the thing. And then it deposited me on the big ship, and then it left me. So are the grays working? So I got a mantid being that does the bad part, the taking the eggs in the hybridization program. The gray is usually there to just calm me and keep the pain away by putting 4 fingers over my belly. That's the second cover. So volume 2 shows the mantid being and the tall gray. Those are my drawings, but we had an illustrator for the book publishers did that. And they put a cloak over my body, or not a cloak, but a sheet, because the original book that came out in September, Amazon accepted, and then they blocked it because I was naked on the table. And that was the drawing.
Is that the picture you
getting
just
the
sent me?
picture across to everybody. But they didn't like that. So we had to redo it.
You put a sheet on, you did another illustration with a sheet over you.
Yeah, to make it PG.
Well, I saw the picture. It wasn't that horrible.
Yeah. The original book.
It was kind of just, it didn't have a lot of detail. So it's kind of like it didn't look like it was a bad picture.
Right. Well, now I had another author friend of mine. I can't remember who it was. Anyway, she was telling me that because she had the word suicidal in the title, they wouldn't publish the book. So Amazon has their guidelines, but yet my books are on Barnes & Noble, and you can get them on my site, K Rose Golden actually it's krosegolden.org, and you can get signed copies from me, hardcover or paperback. The signed copies are going to cost more because they're signed, but I'll send them directly to your viewers if they want to go that route. And if not, they can order on Amazon or Barnes & Noble.
Do you have a website?
Yeah, that's my website. The initial K, Rose, ROSEGOLDEN.org.
Okay.
And I'm excited to say that our Skywatchers national organization, which is nonprofit, will be deep diving into the abductee cases and using specialized database to compile and get all our categories and subcategories so we can get to the bottom of the abductions. This is not MUFON. This isn't any other organization. This is unprecedented. I think this is going to be a huge, huge thing. We're looking for volunteers right now. Nobody's getting paid, but we need to volunteer people to take the cases
they
on.
Don't get paid,
Yeah, investigators. And as we get cases, we'll hand them out. This is going to be nationwide. This isn't just one state like Colorado where it's registered as a nonprofit right now. It's going to be in every single state. So anybody who's been abducted or thinks they've been abducted or has had a nightmare that they've been abducted, but they're not sure it was a nightmare, or they have marks on their body and they're, having recollections or bits and pieces, they can come forward to Skywatchers National. And we will have a level 1 investigator reach out to them.
Do you have anybody in California yet?
Not yet, but we do. That's my plan. I want to have at least the Southern California, Middle California, and Northern California.
I'm in Sacramento, so if you
cool.
you need somebody in this area, I can.
Awesome. Yeah,
I wouldn't mind getting involved in that. That'd be. Do you training for the investigators?
I will put you an introductory letter.
Put me on the list. Yeah.
Okay.
Do you do you're not organized enough yet, right, to do formal training or anything?
So when we get the setup with the person who's doing our website and everything's launched with the database, then we're going to have a training session, hopefully one or two of them, because I'm not very technically savvy.
Right.
So I'll be going, okay, what do I do? And I'm the director and the CEO and the president of the organization. But I tell you what, real quick, just to let everybody know, this was given to me by a good guy over on the East Coast, a couple of good guys. I've been on their Paranormal Zone podcast, which is audio only on YouTube, several times, and it was like the second to the last time where they said, hey, we've got this organization, Skywatchers National, New Jersey, and we want to make it go national, and we think you're the person to help. Due to things happening in life, both of them wanted me to just take over this very large horse, if you would, hand me the reins.
Yeah.
And so I accepted, and that's what I'm doing. I've got Jim Hallahan, who is the host of Paranomaly podcast. He is the executive director and vice president right now. And we are looking for a secretary so that I don't have to do all the paperwork and everything. And then support people. Like, we need people who have a little training in psychology and who can do regression hypnosis, because we know that's going to be necessary in a lot of cases. So I'm really excited. We're both really excited about this. And when the website launches in 3 weeks, it's not going to look like anybody else's website out. It's not going to have stars and planets. It's going to be very different. I think it'll look really good.
That's awesome. Yeah, you'll need a regression therapist and whatever areas.
We want our level 1 investigators to be very supportive, very empathetic. We want them to handle each abductee very carefully, because that's going to make them or break them.
Yeah, I've got a couple. When you get ready, I've got a couple of them here. I haven't done myself, but I witnessed a coworker when I was working. He said he'd been abducted and he wanted to go to regression, and he wanted me to go witness the regression therapy. And it was the freakiest thing I've ever witnessed personally. Other than I have never been abducted, or seen anything. But
watching somebody go through that,
it was spooky. And the guy did not guide him at all. He just let him talk. Yeah. And he was in a translucent, he was on an island with a ship that all the walls were clear. And he was on it strapped to the table, like you always hear about, like you've probably experienced. And this thing rolled into the ocean. It just entered the ocean, and it was completely clear. He saw fish. And, and then they were performing some sort of experiment on him under the water in this translucent craft. I mean, he wasn't scared or anything. He just said it was, and he says they were not friendly. He says all I could say is they weren't friendly.
Can you describe what they looked like?
They were the typical gray. They were your,
really?
They were the grays.
Okay.
And, he had 4 different things in his life, events in his life that were drawn out of him during this regression therapy. It was pretty expensive, though. I have to say, I hear all kinds of different price ranges. This guy was $800 for like 3 sessions. We've got someone we work with MUFON that she's less expensive.
Less expensive.
And she works with the MUFON people. When you're ready, just let me know and I'll give you some context.
Sure. Yeah, that sounds great.
In the area, for sure. I think it's a great thing. It's kind of curious because psychologically, there's a lot of stories that go on about some of the what people are processing when they have this experience. And I'm sure you've heard them all. So as an investigator, you have to be very careful about how you approach this event, and how you discuss.
Yes.
Because first of all, it can be very upsetting, and second of all, was it something that happened in their life when they were children, and that they're somehow this is coming out and manifesting itself in this manner,
like abuse.
Yeah. Right. I didn't really want to say it, but yeah. That's something that you have to be mindful of when you talk to these people. Yours sounds so real, for real. but scary. I hope it never. Honestly, people say, "Oh yeah, I wouldn't mind being taken up." I go, "No, I don't want to be taken up in a ship."
It bothers me. I look on Facebook and they go, "Yeah, if this alien craft came down, would you go with him?" And I'm thinking to myself, "Oh my God, I can't even look at this. This doesn't make any sense to me."
Yeah.
No, you don't want to go with them.
No, well, they don't do good things.
No, it's not. It's not.
It's not like we're
not a kumbaya experience.
Not like we're chilling, just watching the planets go by. You know what I mean? It's
exactly
like Star Wars or Star Trek. I mean, things are being done to you. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not a good experience.
Yeah. And nobody knows why. And our own government can't tell us. And that bothers me too.
Do they know?
I don't know. I watched the congressional hearings. I watched as many as I could stomach. In the beginning, I thought it was great, and now I'm thinking
it's going nowhere like it always does.
Things are hush hush, and things are going nowhere. And maybe the president will come forward on July 7th or 8th and say, hey, we're not alone, blah 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 blah. But nobody's coming forward about the actual abductions, and that's what we want to break right now. Starting with Skywatchers National, we're trying to be groundbreaking, innovative. And we're not going back to the old stuff. We're going to use as much new stuff, specialized database, maybe AI, to get to the bottom of this.
Well, this isn't just...
For me, it's personal.
This isn't just something what's good about your organization is that this is something where people have actually been there. Like Bob Lazar has seen it. He says he's seen everything. The jury's still out on him, I think. But, you've seen it. You've been in there. This is as close as you're going to get. The people that are in the congressional hearings or Senate hearings, they're not firsthand witnesses, except for Fravor, the pilot.
Right.
The other pilot.
And Graves. Right.
Ryan. And, they're firsthand witnesses as to this phenomenon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But they didn't go on the ship. They've seen it, the Tic Tac thing. There's some people that say the Tic Tac thing is a reverse. It's actually not an ET craft. It's a reverse engineered craft
by Lockheed Martin. Right.
Yeah,
I've heard
possibly.
It too.
Yeah.
I don't know if I buy it. I'm kind of leaning towards Richard Dolan, where I say, I still think that is extraterrestrial, and according to my recurring dreams, it is extraterrestrial.
This could be a drone, though. With the Fravor incident in 2017 or 2018, it could have been we could have developed that. The material was given to Lockheed Martin. We know that it doesn't have the insignia on the side with the little antenna, but I mean it's got they're guessing about that. It could have been Raytheon or Northrop Grumman or whatever.
Yeah,
but it's
have their hands in it.
It could be. There's no people inside that probably. If it is, it's probably a drone. If it's us,
that's an incredible drone. If that's a drone, the way that thing moves and stops.
I think there's things they're in development. I think there's things that we have that they don't want to let out because we're talking about anti-gravity and things, and we don't want. And as you can see with what's going on today. You don't want to make oil obsolete for the most part. It'll never be, because then it's going to get really ugly.
Yeah.
Because we don't need oil anymore because we got this little thing in the tip that's the size of your thumb that could power your, whole city block.
Everybody could have free energy for the rest of their life.
Yeah, and the oil people aren't fond of that.
Yeah, they lose their millions of dollars, billions of dollars, but, the earth, the humans could live better. But we're sheep. Yeah. We're under... But some shadow government's thumb.
There's a government above. I always say it's a government above the we the people government. There's something. If anybody knows about it, it's old money or something. But it's above us. It's above our government. Trump says, "Oh, you're going to release I'm going to release the the information." I don't know what we have that we can release that's documented. You know what I mean? It's Roswell. I mean, of course, you know about Roswell. Did you read The Day After Roswell?
Oh, yes, I have that book. I have quite a collection of those books.
Bet you do.
I liked that book a lot.
Yeah,
really good book.
I've read that book, and that's like the Bible to me. I think that that's where it started. That's where printed circuits and night vision and lasers. Yeah. That's where. And then if you look to see, I was just at. I was down in San Diego this weekend, and they have an Air and Space Museum down there at Balboa Park. And it shows the advancement of aircraft throughout the years. It's kind of like right after we went through propeller aircraft. So guess what? 1947. And then things started changing after that very quickly. Yep. After 47. What happened in 47? Roswell. Yeah. So, but to your organization, those people and you are there. You've touched it. You've seen it. It's hard to communicate with the people there. That's too bad, because it's hard to get information if nobody talks about anything. I mean, do they have you reposition yourself on the table, or they move you, or
once or twice? Yeah. They unstrap you or unclamp you, and I actually got moved to 3 different rooms on the very first time down there when it was in Diamond Bar. And I was, just briefly, I was taken by only two of the small little half biological Zeta Grays. But before it happened, like I said, I had just moved there. My husband had been there for a while to get the house ready and all that, and have the cats. And I was closing up house here in our rental house in Colorado, and then getting my butt down there. So it was maybe 2 weeks. So it was Labor Day. We went out for a nice lunch, because he had to start the new job with the aerospace company that morning, the next morning. And he went to bed early, and I was downstairs. I was like, okay, cats, it's time to go to bed. I lock everything up, shut the lights off, shut the coffee pot off. And I think as I'm going up the stairs, okay, my legs are hurting me. Again, it's the neurological thing. And I'm going to go sleep in my office, which is the guest bedroom upstairs. But I'm going to go in the master bedroom and just get my stuff, get ready, and then go into the guest bedroom. And I ended up going into the master bedroom, going to the bathroom, changing and all that. And then I got into the bed next to my husband. It's a big king-size bed, 4-post bed. And I know I looked at the clock, because I always do, and it was close to 11:30. And then I must have gone to sleep, and I had this weird dream, and I didn't remember this until the following morning. So I'm walking through these woods. There's a mist overlaying the ground. You can hear my feet kind of crunching through some leaves, so it had to be like fall. A little bit of moonlight. And I see this glow off to the, straight away from me and down this path. And it's a fire that looked like a campfire, but there's a black pot on top of it. And then there's 4 beings that are cloaked. And I can't see any eyes or faces or anything. And so I'm curious in this dream, and I'm walking over to see what it is that they're cooking in the pot. Then all these hands start reaching out, trying to grab me. And I got the feeling they wanted to put me in the pot. Oh. And so I'm running away, and then the dream ended, and I wake up in the bed, and I'm going, oh my God. And then now there's this blue light in the room, bluish white. Don't know where it's coming from. I'm starting to vibrate, feel this vibration. And I'm thinking, earthquake, Southern California. This is an earthquake. And the light's coming from emergency vehicles outside the window 2 stories down. And then I look over, and I'm like, no, the windows are locked, shuttered with wood, and heavily draped. And there's nothing coming through there, and nothing's falling off. We had those places where you can put things on top of the walls. So, right. Like I had a glass vase up there. Nothing was falling off the walls, so no earthquake. I'm still vibrating. This blue light is around, and this probably happened in a matter of really quick minutes. But when you're trying to describe it, it takes a long time. So I'm looking over towards the master bedroom door. No lights coming through there. I'm looking across the way from the bed, which is an open sink area, and all we had was a curtain. No lights coming through that. And so I'm freaking out, because this is really weird. It's just that Kirlian blue aura-like color. And it starts getting a little bit smaller and smaller in the room until it ends up being kind of just on the bed. And at that point, something touches my foot down at the bed, my left foot. And I'm like, uh-oh, what? I'm thinking cats are downstairs, and nothing should be down there, because nothing should be in your room at night when you're going to sleep and you're in your peaceful time, right? No intruder. And the light starts shrinking down more. It becomes a very thin beam of light, and it's going up and down the length of my body. At this point, that whatever touched my foot is still grabbing my foot, and there's a hand coming up on the bed, and I'm looking down, seeing it. And in the light, our comforter was white with some flowers on it, like rows of flowers. It popped like it was under a black light. So really psychedelic looking. And I'm looking down and I see this hand coming up like a tarantula coming up on the comforter. And it's grabbing my foot, and I see that maybe 3 or 4 inches of this bulbous mass down there and dark black eyes that are kind of reflective. Not a whole lot of light in the room, but with that blue light, I could see that. But another thing about the blue light was it wasn't casting any shadows. With that 4-post bed, you'd figure that the posts would be casting shadows over here on the right side towards the master bedroom door. And there were no shadows, and the ceiling fan was on high, and there were no shadows coming off of that either. But anyway, it's grabbing my foot. I don't know what it is. I can't move all of a sudden. I was, I guess, made immobile, paralyzed, whatever you want to call it. Vibrations rocking through me to the point where I can't breathe very well. I'm having a very hard time breathing. And I'm going, oh my God. Don't let it be like this. Because I actually thought, hey, I'm dying, or I'm going to be, that type of thing. And so I'm freaking out, heart's beating really fast. And I'm looking, because I can't move, I can't kick, I can't move my arms. I'm just not able to I can't speak. And I'm screaming in my head to my husband, wake up. Charles, don't you see this? Don't you see that thing at the end of the bed? Oh my God, wake up. No, he's completely out of it. And I don't know how they do that. I would love to find out how they're able to do that. But then to the right with my peripheral vision, I see one right next to me here by my pillow. And it's reaching with a maybe 6 to 8 inch long metal device to poke it under my eye, whether it went under my eye, but anyway. Oh. Then I'm rising up the bed, or on top of over the bed. And I'm heading towards the ceiling fan, and I'm can't speak, but what I want to say is, you're going to kill me, you're going to shred me, the ceiling fan's on high. You think of all these logical things, even though you're in this position. Oh my God, this can't be happening, what is this? You try to run through it all really quickly in your head, and somewhere in the back of my mind came gray out of nowhere, I don't know where. And then I thought, oh my God, I'm being taken. Oh my God, I'm being taken. And it was horrible. I think my heart wanted to jump out of my chest. I couldn't breathe. The vibrations are still going through me. I'm being sent over the bed to the left, over my husband. And I told myself, okay, you're going to look down, you're going to see your body on the bed, and you'll know it's an out-of-body experience. And so I turned my head to look, and I was not down there.
Oh, no.
And then I'm heading towards the 4-post, one of the posts by my husband. I'm over him, and he's still not waking up. I go right through that post, still thinking they were going to hurt me with the post, but I went right through it. And then we're heading towards the locked, shuttered, draped window. And I got put through it, and I think there was a little electric shock that I felt, not real heavy, and I must have passed out. And then the next thing I knew, we were in the beam, a yellow amber beam going up, and I see this blacked out area in the sky. So there was a craft up there, because you could see the stars on the outside edges, and I could feel the breeze from like the Pacific Ocean, and I could smell. And all I wanted to do was get out of there, Doug. I just wanted to reach through the beam, grab the roof, and just say, hell with it. I'll stay here until morning. Somebody can come get me in a helicopter or make me jump from the roof. I don't care. I'm not going with you. But you can't. When you're stuck in that beam, you're stuck. You're still immobile. You can't reach.
You can't move.
Yeah.
Can't do anything.
Yeah. So up we went. The door opened under the craft, and then the next thing I remember is being on the table. So, and groggy, and you're blurry, and I think I went down a black spiral at least 2 or 3 times during that whole experience. And that the tall gray was the first being that came zipping in, and I believe jabbed me in the back with something, because I had a bad time with that area, and I had a 3-inch section of skin removed back there from that 3 years after that it happened. And that's in the book. There's an actual picture of that in the book. I have, marks over here, scoop marks that make an X over here. And I had a triangle on the top of my left thigh for the longest time. That was just a triangle mark. It looked dark. it's faded now. It's a lot faded now, but it was there for a long time before I finally took the photo, which is in the volume 2. I think it's the volume 2, might be volume 1. And it's still there, but it's faded, and it's a good 2 inches each side. Perfect triangle.
We should talk about the book. I mean, it's in the Gray's Abyss, volume 2, but you had a volume 1 and then you integrated both into volume 2?
So no, the original book was from October of 2024, and when it got published, because it was my first time, I looked through it and I went, oh God. So I wanted to make sure I rewrote it, and things were still happening, so I was able to integrate some of those other occurrences into volume 2. So dividing it from volume 1 to volume 2, making the writing better. I used a different publisher, and the illustrations are better. And so that's why I did that, because things were still happening. And
the cover on book, this one, you've got it looks like a praying mantis thing.
Yeah, that is an exact.
That's crazy. It's hooded though. A hooded, the hood thing is that just came about in my world in the last couple of years. A couple of days ago, I interviewed the gentleman who has these constant things happening to him, and he says one of the things is they had a hood. There's something about the hood. I don't know what it is with the hood with these guys, but he says they were grays and they had hoods.
Yeah. And they were hooded?
They were hooded. Not all of it. Just like you. He has all these different creatures, and they're all different sizes, and they have the tall blonde, the Nordic.
I have not seen that one. I haven't seen. I have not seen a Nordic, because apparently they're the good guys.
Yeah, they are. There was one story where the Greys are their henchmen too, but they don't do any, allegedly, because nobody really knows, nefarious. They're not doing any nefarious things. They're just trying to help us. And on my Facebook page, I just posted yesterday of his name's Omar with H. It's Homar, but he pronounces Omar. And it was channeled a dissertation of what one of these, don't say breeds, but whatever you would call them, channeled him. This is not really a directive, but what it is that they're trying to accomplish. And the usual, we can't give you any, weaponry or technology, because you can't handle it, that kind of thing. So that we need to bridge the gap between us and them somehow, is the end.
But apparently, according to, I think it was Bob Lazar who said this, that we were actually given some sort of saucer or UFO as a gift.
Yeah.
So you've got very contradictory claims here and there. Was it a gift? Was it 200,000? Was it 178,000 years ago? Linda and I have talked about that. Linda Mulhaupt and I have talked about this till the cows come home. Yeah. And she says, and I kind of agree with her. We think Earth's the big petri dish, and we're all just being played with like little amoeba.
It could be. Yeah, that could totally be. There's so many
there's nothing you can do about it.
I think there's so many different things that are happening that there isn't. A lot of people are trying to make this one thing, and I just think it's a conglomeration of many species and many situations and things that are good and things that are bad.
Mind manipulation, mind control.
And that would be, what's that? That's an experiment.
It's got its tendrils in absolutely every aspect of human lives. I don't think there's anything that it's not into. The behind the scenes controlling beings, which some people claim are the reptilians. I don't know. I want to say it's the mantid being. That's my thought. But I know I've met people who say the mantid beings are really good beings. I'm like, not in my case, they're not.
The mantises weren't good, huh? I don't know. It doesn't look like anything good. I don't know. But did they do something bad? The mantises? Were they?
Well,
anymore.
Other people claim they've had a good talking relationship with these beings, and this one didn't talk to me. It didn't even do thought transference with me. It was there to do a job on my body, take eggs, or impregnate me, whatever you want to call it, and scared the crap out of me. Yeah. And then the gray is the one that's always in the scene, the one that does the thought transference to me. And I usually get just like, hey, calm, or this is necessary, or stand, or sit up, or you need to look at this before you can go. It's like I'm being prepped or trained for something, and I don't want that.
There's no other conversation or just instruction. There's no way for you to document anything. Yeah, there's no way for you to document anything that.
Well, I can't exactly take a cell phone on board.
Yeah. To give us an indication of how. It doesn't sound like it's anything we can stop. Yeah, that's the problem. I mean, I don't know. No. You guys that are having this happen to you time and again, it would make me. I'd be scared all the time. When's the next time this is going to happen?
Yeah, I've had nights where I curl up and just go, okay, I'm going to keep my eyes open because I had this, funny feeling, or I get the 3-4 second tone in my right ear. So I have nights where I don't sleep well, or that I start walking around, or I go outside in the back, take my phone, look up. And sometimes I go out to the horses in the middle of the night, and I'm just like, but I don't even like looking up at night much anymore. It's not like it used to be, not when I was a kid.
When you're taken, can you tell any time frame, like you see this is this time and this is the time?
Yeah. So I've always made that note on my phone or on paper, where and especially with the Diamond Bar encounter, I looked at the clock. It was 11:30, and then when I was put back, it was 2:30 in the morning. So I was gone for a little while.
And your husband had no idea you were missing.
And I jumped out of bed. I was sobbing and crying and shaking, and ran down the stairs, well, as best I could, run down the stairs, flew open the wings of the two big windows there, and stepped outside and made a pot of coffee, and I'm just trying to cry and sob and cry and sob. And then I started going, okay, get a grip, smell the senior in the horse's feed, get a grip. And then I started going through very logically, checking off the boxes. And that's how I remembered the dream. Because I said, okay, this is what happened. And I said, no, I had a dream first. And then I went through that. I said, okay. And then the next thing that happened was the blue light in the room. And I thought it was emergency vehicles. I thought it was an earthquake, and it was not. And then the creepy thing at the end of the bed. And I just kind of kept checking off the boxes going, oh my God. And I got to tell you, after this happened, you can bet I was digging into documentaries and books. Now, I had not even touched Whitley Strieber's book, Communion. That I didn't touch till probably about 2 years ago, after I finished my first book. Then I read his book. I try not to read, this is bad because here I am, the director of an organization that's going to be diving into abductee cases, but I try not to read a lot of that stuff. I try to just kind of go with Richard Dolan and Linda and a few others.
Those are the good, Dolan and Linda. Right. Now they're the legitimate good ones that we can. I think
I don't want to absorb anybody else's abduction scenarios. It's just like being led by regression hypnosis. If there's somebody doing it wrong, then you're going to get false data. And God, I don't want that for anybody, because you want to know what's happening. You don't want to be led and told, oh yeah, did you go to this door? What? Wait. Oh yeah, I went to this door.
Yeah, it's when you're training your investigators, that's probably the first thing. Don't read about a bunch of this. It has to be fresh.
We want an abductee to come forth willingly. They may be scared. We want to be there for them.
And you don't want a preconceived notion about what it is that you think they've experienced.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's going to be important.
Words into their mouth. Right. My accounts are my accounts, and for me, this is deeply personal to try to get to the bottom of all of this. Well,
you're a brave person. I don't know. I don't know how I could just be sitting there waiting for the next time this happens.
Yeah, it can be really rough. I had we were still in Castle Rock, and our son was visiting with his pregnant wife, and everybody wanted to go out to breakfast the next morning, and we had just gotten my new bed, which is right here still in this office, and I was going to try it out, and I did, and I think it was March 19th of 2019. Nothing had happened yet. We had moved from Diamond Bar, got our new house in Colorado, and nothing happened yet. So, I'm in my office, everything's cool. I go to bed, and then 5 of these beings are in the office. One of them knocked over my office chair, and that's what freaked me out. And then they're all over me, and they take me back through the closet, through a cement wall, and up and out. And my son, the next morning, was pounding on the bedroom door to wake me up. And what happened was, as I have said it in the book, they basically took me into the small craft. The one had small seats, so my legs were sticking out horribly. It wasn't made for a human being. 175 pounds, 5'9". And I had to go with these 5 beings out into space, again with the tall progenitor gray, Rex, thought transferring into my head, you have to look at this. They took me way out. I got to see all kinds of wonderful things in space that I can't even barely begin to describe. Swirling arms, gases, nebulas, clouds, stars, double stars. It was incredible. Wow. But I was wearing out and I was tired. And I kept telling them they needed to take me home. Something about where they had me or whatever was going on was draining me physically. And I had to look at a screen with them. One of them took me around a little corridor, not a long corridor, but a small corridor, put me down, showed me this transparent console screen. I had to look at this, and there were all kinds of fantastic things on there. Well, a few fantastic things on there, like a beautiful waterfall, island, and all of that. And then there were devastating scenes. And one of them was Hitler standing in front of a broken down building, and there's a tall being, didn't look like a normal Nazi, but it was a Nazi uniform, but had a gun, not a normal, 1940s gun, but a laser-like looking gun, and definitely blonde hair, blue eyes, in the night, very tall, and a little bit of, the hair was a little bit long, it wasn't short. So I thought, okay, Nordic, after I went through all this. But there were devastating scenes. There were scenes from, was it Saddam Hussein? I can't even remember the guy that we caught. Who did we catch?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that guy laughing at us. And then the face changing into a reptilian face. So weird things. I couldn't take it anymore. They got me back, and my son was pounding on the door, and trying to see if I was alive, because it was 11 o'clock in the morning. And I was physically exhausted and wiped out. And then I was sobbing. I told them, you guys need to go to lunch or breakfast on your own. I cannot go. I cannot go. And I had to explain to my husband why I couldn't go. And so I told him. I went upstairs in the master bedroom, and I was sobbing in the one chair we have. And he came in and said, okay, what's going on? And I said, they found me. And of course, he's like, who found you? Mafia or something like that. And I had to explain to him.
No worse.
I tried to tell him in Diamond Bar. What happened? So it is very hard for an abductee to come forward to a family member unless you know that family member is going to be 100% supportive. Even when I saw the crafts in Brighton, Colorado, before the Diamond Bar encounter, this would have been like 2016 in the backyard. And my daughters, they didn't believe me. I don't even think my son believed me. I know my husband didn't believe me at the time, but it sent such a shock through me after observing that, and that's all in the book, that I pretty much tripped over the Chase lounge chair getting into the back of the house and hid in the living room with the curtains closed, the blinds closed, and cried on the couch. It just gave me such a horrible feeling after that event. So, I've seen some really, really incredible things. And I'm just here to say you can get through it. It takes a lot, but you can get through it. If I didn't have my husband and my horses, I probably would be, And Linda was the person I was able to amazingly reach out to one morning. She just happened to be at home. I happened to see her phone number on the screen of this one documentary. I said, I got to call her and tell her what's going on. So she's been really, really good for me, or good to me, and I consider her a friend.
That's a good call.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up.
Sure.
I have to ask, though, your horse came out, you had a problem with your horse the last time we tried to...
Oh, that's right. Problem. Yeah. He ended up having to be put down.
Oh no! My wife said, "Oh, he's probably might have to get put." I go, "Really? Is it that serious?"
Yeah.
She goes, "Oh yeah."
Yeah. The colic part we got him through. The secondary part was he couldn't. He kept falling.
Yeah.
And he must have fallen really hard this one afternoon, because the next morning he couldn't turn his head from the left to the right.
No.
So then we were getting x-rays done on his neck that day immediately. And he reared at all of us and lunged at the vet and all of us, my husband and me. And it just wasn't him. That was not Ben. And so after the x-rays were done, after he was put down, because I said, this is not good. He has no quality of life. This isn't good. Let's just take care of it. And we were sobbing. I mean, I loved Ben. He was just a wonderful, sweet
How old was he?
Great personality. He would have been 20, I think 20.
Really? He lived a pretty good life, so
he did. I mean, I only had him since he was about 12, but
that's some good life. That's some good years, though.
Great personality, such a sweetheart, and my husband just loved him. But anyway, once the x-ray was performed, they looked at it and they said he had a crack in the vertebra in his neck. And he must have gotten that from being cast in the stall for about 5 hours. And then the fall that happened the prior day. And he couldn't bring his head back.
We have German Shepherds, so we go, you have them for a certain period of time, and then something happens.
Yeah.
And then, we take good care of them. They're like our kids.
Yeah.
And it's just so sad when they, I've never had a horse, but my wife says they're just like dogs. They're really smart. I've never
they
had
are.
one.
Very smart.
And I never can, but I'm glad you're able to do that. At least did you get another horse? Did you get a new horse?
Actually, that day when we had to put him down, I was on the ground just sobbing. I was so miserable. And then our neighbor came by that night, I think, and said, "Hey, we will give you our sorrel quarter horse, and he's rideable, blah, 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 blah." And it was really sweet. And I kind of didn't want to do that because I didn't know how obligated I would feel towards our neighbors by taking a horse like that. I've never had that offered to me. And so I had my eye on a rescue up north at Colorado Horse Rescue in Longmont.
Yeah.
And this one had missing eye. But anyway, that didn't pan out. It took 2 months, and then my husband's like, "Well, what do you think?" And I said, "Okay, we'll go down and talk to him." So we told him we'd go ahead and take him. So now he's been with us for about, I think since the beginning of January.
Yeah.
So we've had him for a little while now, and he's a pretty sweet guy. He's pretty funny, too. He does some interesting things. But he's got, I had a vet examine him, and he's got borderline Cushing, so borderline sugar type kind of deficiency, or a pituitary is the shedding part of the coat and all of that. So he's going to be on a special balancer and then a hay that doesn't have this high sugar concentration.
Yeah, he's like our dogs, his special needs.
Yeah.
When they have something wrong, they get special needs. I had one of my shepherds a couple of years ago had to have back surgery. And, we took him down and he'd wake up in the morning, he'd lift his leg up and he'd cry, just scream and run out into the backyard, still screaming for a minute. And then he was able to slowly get it to where he could walk around, but it was horrible. My wife was in tears every morning. And finally the vet really didn't give us, so we had to send him to a dog specialist, surgery specialist. And, we decided to get it done, but he's a great dog, but luckily it came out okay, because you never know with a back surgery, you never know if it's going to go okay. But you love your pet. We do, ours are rescues too. We get them.
Yes.
We get them. Yeah. My other one's he's 18 months old. He's 104.
Well, there's such good horses out there that need a good home, and they go through these auction lots or killer buyer lots. These killer buyers will pay $500 a horse to get them on a truck and ship them out to be slaughtered.
Yeah, I
And
just
it's
heard about
horrible.
that. That's
And it's
what do they do?
horrible. I've been fighting that forever.
What do they do with them? What do they kill them? What do they use them for glue?
They use them for
It's
meat
always the glue
over
factory.
to Mexico and other places. Yeah, for meat. It's horrible. And if you've ever seen the video of it, it's devastating.
I don't want to see a
Very
video of that.
devastating. But it amazes me how many people, and I'm not knocking anybody for wanting a horse or a dog or anything like that, but person who hasn't had a horse ever and wants a horse and gets a horse and then doesn't kind of know what to do with it, I always think, okay, you should have had some lessons, some training, watched a lot of videos.
That's what we say
worked
about
around horses at a rescue and then get a horse.
That's what we say
Because
about our
they end
German.
up being in a bad situation over again.
We say that about our German shepherds too. If you don't know what they can be very stubborn and unruly, and you have to tell them. You have to show them who's boss, or they will run the house.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, Kay. So thank you very much for coming on the podcast. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
And do me a favor on my email. Send me the organization name and the email.
Sure.
Not the email, but the web. Is the website up?
I'll send you the introductory letter, and when the website's up in about 3 weeks, I'll be happy to send that to you.
Perfect.
I'm hoping to have a Zoom meeting with all the new people who are going to join, and we're hoping that my little posts, my little videos are very casual. I'm just popping out about Skywatchers National left and right, so you'll probably see more of those on Facebook and Instagram.
Send me a note so I know what to put in the description. And thank you very much. I appreciate it. I know it took a while, but we got it together.
Hey, it was good. It was a nice, casual, relaxed
That's what I like to hear.
visit.
Okay. All right, Kay. We'll talk. Keep me posted.
I will.
Skywatch. All right. Bye now.
Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the latest episode of the Alien Probe Podcast. We welcome comments, questions, or guest requests to alienprobepodcast@gmail.com. Visit us on Facebook. Listen to us wherever you get your favorite podcasts, Twitter and Instagram at Alien Probe Pod, YouTube and Rumble at Alien Probe Podcast. We also have a paid version on Patreon if you'd like to show your support. However, the content is free on all other platforms.